Welcome to ALACAD's Top 10 in 2010. Today we're going to talk about what's new in Inventor Professional 2010. And we're going to just take a look at the top 10 items. Doesn't mean we're going to hit all the nice new features, but we're going to just take a look at 10 of them. So we're going to do this David Letterman style. Top 10 in 2010. Number 10, dynamic licensing. Improved workflow, especially if you're in a network license manager environment, works nicely, will help you out. Drawing manager, I can now have dual units for whole nodes. Sheet metal, lofted sheet metal, big wish list item here. Lofted sheet metal and some additional tools are going to make creating some sheet metal parts that were more difficult and harder to unfold. Now I can do that and have a real nice workflow and easily be able to obtain them. Assembly manager, I can now create assembly folders, allowing me to shrink up my browser tree. I can create one called fasteners, put all my fasteners in it, organize it nice and neatly. Restructuring allows me to promote and demote out without losing assembly constraints. Content center, I now have the option of installing with what's called desktop content. Really nice. Reduces the amount of hard drive space, reduces the number of resources required. Interoperability. I've got shrink wrap actually do shrink wrap. It allows me to take assemblies, fill in what's in between the outside edges, send a lightweight, simple format to people. They don't get my intellectual property. All they get is just the outside model, and then accurately get the outside model. AEC Exchange allows me to bundle everything up I have, send out my information to whoever needs it, so they can use it in applications such as Revit architecture, and I don't have to worry about them recreating my 3D solids in their package. Alias import allows me to bring in industrial designs done in Alias, bring in the wire file format, and if they update their wires, I can update my parts and my assemblies without having to rebuild everything. Finite element analysis, big wish list items here. Improve parts and assemblies. I can now do full assemblies in Inventor's finite element analysis without having to do any type of playing. Parts, improve the parts. I have much finer mesh control with finite element analysis. I also can do parametric design studies, so I can take a look at the material thickness and determine what's the proper material thickness to handle the loads I'm applying, and have it do that without having to run multiple iterations of analysis. Layout design and simulation allows me to create blocks, essentially, within a sketch environment and move them around. I can name them, move them around, apply them, utilize them without having to go through a whole lot of trouble creating, and also I can promote them up to parts and assemblies later on. Plastic part and mold design. I was always able to do plastic part design, but they've given me some specific tools for plastic parts, including grills, snap fits, lips on plastic parts. Allows me to do them quickly, easily, parametrically. Mold design, you could always do mold design, but they've added specific content center data for injection mold design. Die sets, bearings, typical things that you would use in the injection mold design, they've got a content center specifically for that. On top of all that, they've given me the tools to do mold flow analysis within the software. So now I can not only create my part quickly, generate my mold, and evaluate my mold before I ever create the first part, thus improving my digital prototyping. And something that everyone will see, the new ribbon UI, aka the toolbars. So let's start digging down a little deeper into these top 10. The ribbon UI, the toolbars. What you're going to find is they've gone away from the typical toolbars, going more towards what Microsoft is doing. But in this case, you'll see that they are task oriented. Here I'm on a sketch tab, and everything that I typically do on a sketch is here. By doing this task oriented, they're grouping them together. You see all my draw tools are in one location, all my constrain tools are in one location, and reducing the number of flyouts. These constrain tools that you typically have, you would have to go to that, find the constraint, and then do a flyout to find the specific one. They're right here, they're right accessible now. I found the one I want, quickly pick it. Old Inventor users will be a little disoriented with this. However, with a little use, this will become very much improved. Also, with this little button, I can shrink these down to reduce the impact on my desktop space even further. So, task oriented, reduce the number of flyouts, reduce the number of mouse clicks. Overall, this will be improved. Also, by the way, I have the option of doing user-defined folders, so I can even come through and group these into typical ones that I use. Plastic part and injection molded parts. Specific tools for generating specific things on plastic injection molded parts. Very nice, very handy, very easy to use. From there, I can take my plastic injection molded parts, generate my dies, generate my mold, do analysis on my molds. You'll see the little browser, the menu bar across the top. Start from left, go to right. By the time I'm done, I've done my mold flow analysis, and I've got high confidence that this mold system and the parts will come out as expected. Layout, design, and simulation. Number 3. I can go through and create what they're calling sketch blocks, essentially blocks like you would have in AutoCAD. I can nest them, I can instance them having more than one copy in there. I can move them around, place them around, move them, do quick motion studies before I ever generate the first part. When I'm ready to generate those parts, I can turn those into components without having to go out and create separate files. Everything is nice, neat, organized, quick and easy to be able to access them. Finite element analysis. Parts and assemblies. You'll see on the right hand side an assembly. This is not a derived part. This is an assembly. I can go through and treat different places as contacts, bonded, so I have control over how this gets analyzed. Gets me closer to real life. Part analysis. Not only can it do single part analysis like it did before, but I can do parametric studies. This little rib here, I can determine through parametrics, okay, I need 1 rib, do I need 3 rib, and tell it I have 1 rib, here's the stress, go through and tell me what the least stress is. It tells me the least stress is with 3 ribs. I've quickly done a parametric study on this without having to run multiple iterations to try to find the best solution for my application. The software is helping me out, cutting down my design cycle, allowing me to improve my design. Shrink wrap. If I need to send this gearbox to a customer, he doesn't care what gears are in it. He doesn't care what bearings are in it. For his use, what he wants to see is that. So I can use shrink wrap to fill in the inside, gives him a much smaller model than I'm sending him, much smaller file, and allows him to use that better and just have the information that's required. To go along with that interoperability, AEC Exchange, Revit architecture, they need some of my models for plants, for buildings, for houses, whatever. I can send them the information using the AEC Exchange and give them more than just the solid model. Autodesk has created a new format called ADSK that it saves to talk with these files. And I can send not only the solids, shrink wrap them at the same time, but I can apply connection information so that when they put them in their application, if they need to connect plumbing to them, electrical to them, they have access to those and they already know what they are. Alias import. I can work with my industrial designers who are using Alias to generate my injection molded part. Look at the form, fit, and function of my part. When it gives it to me in Inventor, I need to be able to bring that information in natively so I don't have to recreate it.